over to Vikram to start the meeting.
Vikram, you are on mute.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening. A warm welcome and thanks to each and everyone who took your time on your busy schedules to make this Golden Ticket series happen. Before we start, I would like to begin by stating the mission of Toastmasters International. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. In view of this unprecedented pandemic situation, we are having this session online and we have few virtual meeting etiquettes needs to be followed throughout the session. Please turn off all noise-making devices and put them to silent mode. Please be on mute if you are not talking. During the session, if you wish to move out of the video frame, please ensure your video is turned off to avoid distractions to the speakers. Ensure that the speakers are not talking on topics restricted by Toastmaster International, such as politics, religion, and sex. On that note, without further ado, we will start the Golden Ticket Series Episode 2 on Our Thinking, We Are What We Think. Over to Area Director Chisti Basha.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vikram. A warm welcome to fellow Toastmasters, guests, and distinguished panelists. I render my warm welcome to you for the second episode of the Golden Ticket series. And today we will be having our understanding, a thought process about how we think and how our thinking can change us. But before we do that, let me just share a small story with you. I hope you all can see my screen right now. And thank you very much. So we all know this story. Let me ask a very straightforward question to everyone. So do you think that elephant is a pretty big animal? So is it possible for the elephant to just rip that small rope and run away?
No.
It has all the capabilities and qualities. It does so. The reason being that it has been brought up in that manner, tied to a small rope with a knot. So over a period of time, the elephant, as it grows, starts to develop a thinking that it might not be able to pull this off and never even attempts to pull the plug. That's the reason why it always remains as a tied animal. It never allows itself to set free. Most of us, if not all, are always in this situation. We tie ourselves together to some rope. We never think about breaking that shackles. But can we do so? Let's find it out. Over to you, Toastmaster Pavani, for the session. Thank you very much.
The world as we have created it is a process of thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Albert Einstein said this. In the current scenario of COVID-19 pandemic, it's absolutely relevant and relatable. Yes, our thinking defines ourselves. We are what we think. Welcome to all the Toastmasters and guests to the Golden Ticket Series Episode 2 sponsored by Area G3. There is always significant difference between the thinking of successful people and normal people. Ordinary people feel comfortable being embedded into a shell of thought which do not let their mind to think in different directions. So let's regroup to learn how we can break the shells. Let's regroup to unlearn the thoughts which hamper our growth. Let's regroup to redefine our thoughts to be a better person and to be a better self. To help us understand on the significance of redefining our thoughts, we have eminent Toastmasters as panelists today, who needs no special introduction. Firstly, DTM Venkatramana Dittakavi sir. He is a charter member of Hyderabad Toastmasters since 2005. He's an immediate past district director, 98, and played a very significant role in bringing Toastmaster meetings online during this pandemic situation. DTM Pratima Madhireddy, the charter member of Hyderabad Toastmasters since 2013, she served several key positions at club level, area level, and division level. Toastmaster Smitha, charter member of Deloitte Hyderabad Toastmasters Club since 2015. She is well known for her trainings and for training many club officers. Distinguished Toastmaster Ravi Teja, former director of District 98. District 98 receives medley distinguished recognition in his leadership. So a warm welcome to all the panelists to our Golden Ticket Series episode 2. I have a habit of sharing all the daily activities to my mother and even my aunt, who is very close to me. It could be a new project allotment at office, could be regarding the Toastmaster humorous and evaluation contest, or anything. My mother always says, think positive. Everything will result as favorable to you. But my aunt always used to pick the hardships, and her pessimistic thought process used to push me to dilemma and decision making most of the times. I used to be in a bewildered situation whether I should share my thoughts with her or not. So before I go into the discussion with panelists and get their viewpoint, I request all the participants to post your questions in the chat box as our discussion goes on. So on this note, let us welcome our panelist Toastmaster Pratima. Whether ignoring pessimistic persons in life help an individual to succeed? Toastmaster Pratima. Pratima, I think there is some
Pratima, please. Your voice is breaking up. I think some network issue. Network issue, Pratima. Your voice is breaking. No, it's breaking up.
You try switching off your video, Pratima, then it will improve.
I think Pratima is saying, can someone else begin?
Is this better?
Pavni,
Yeah.
you can take the question.
Is this better?
So can I pass this question to Venkata sir? Whether ignoring pessimistic persons in life help an individual to succeed?
Thank you, Bhavani. Let me thank Pratima also for this opportunity for talking on this first. A small correction, you introduced me as DTM. The intention with which you have introduced me as DTM is not the correct one, but I am a DTM. I am a dear Toastmaster. So I accept that. And let me thank area G3 leaders for considering me on this panel today. Thank you all. Yeah, ignoring, I may change a few words in that. I think hypercritical people. That let me use the word toxic people. And also, you mentioned succeeding in life. These two words I may not agree with at all. What is success? We have to define first. Avoiding toxic people. I think at this point of time, let us remember the quote of Mahatma Gandhi. You must be the change you wish to see in the world. Please understand, this life, this world is full of toxic people, including me and you and everyone present here. We are all toxic. May not be to you, I may be toxic, but someone else I am toxic. My daughter says me I am toxic. Similarly, every one of us is a toxic person in this world. So you cannot avoid people. You have to be with them. But only thing is our thought process should change. We are living in a world that I am right. The rest of the people are wrong. We need to change this thought process. Remember, everybody is right in their own way. When we start thinking, yes, the other person is also right, then you can see some change. Here I must like to take Ravi Teja's name. He used to tell me when I was district director, sir, we have to come to a middle path. That will be possible only when we accept that others are also right. So if you start thinking others are also right and I am also right and our goal is common, then there is a way. Each one of us think to come to a point. I come a few steps forward, the other person comes a few steps forward, then there is a meeting point, then we can go together to achieve our goals. Except that you cannot avoid people. If you want to avoid people, wherever you go, you will find such people. But where we cannot avoid, in family also you will find such people, toxic people. In teams, in offices we find. You cannot avoid such people. Of course, you may avoid your boss. You may leave the job and go to another job. There also you will find similar people. Remember. So certain people, you cannot avoid such people. You have to adjust yourself. Your thought process should change. That is, yes, they are also right. So where is the meeting point? But at the same time, you can avoid certain places, such people. For example, if you go to a function, there is a small discussion going on. There you find toxic people. Then definitely you must avoid. It is an unnecessary discussion. You need not waste your thought process, you waste your patience. Leave it. Particularly certain topics where I avoid talking is whether God is there or not, whether vegetarian is right or non-vegetarian, because nobody can change my thought process in these two topics. So I don't involve in these discussions. So you have to decide where I should not, where I should. If you remember that everybody is toxic, we are living with such people. I am also toxic, everybody is toxic. I am also right, others are also right. Then I think life will be beautiful. This I experienced for the last 2 years. There are people and we have to live with them. If there is a common goal, we have to go together with these people. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, we try to learn to be with the toxic people. Thanks for that. So, on the same note of what Venkatamana sir told, may I ask Toastmaster Smita? Yes, we cannot avoid toxic people, but if they are in your family or your very close relation, is it possible to change them? Toastmaster Smita.
I think what you've asked is also called a rhetorical question, because the answer to that question is I have been trying this all my life, and yet it does not seem to get me anywhere. I think there is a more philosophical layering to that question, right? And I think I'll just take from what Venkata sir said. People are inherently very set in their beliefs and in their ideals, like what I am as what I define myself to be, what I am or what I might define myself to be. People are usually very set in those notions, and it is quite difficult for people normally to shift their focus or shift their center to some other aspect of their personality. So people who are inherently nosy will always be nosy. People who are inherently compassionate will always be compassionate. It takes a lot of conscious effort. It takes a lot of acknowledgement that something is right or not right within us to be able to shift that persona per se. So the short answer to your question is, especially when we come across these close circle of people, like our immediate family, parents, siblings, relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, and all of that, uh, we have to kind of take things with a pinch of salt, that this person is like this, and unless there is a want to change from that person's, from within that person itself, it is going to be extremely difficult to change the person's mind per se. So you have to make your peace with that fact. At least that is what I personally do. I have made my peace with so many people, because the pretty much every time the topic of conversation these days, well, for the last about 5 to 10 years, in fact, has been about my marriage. And I know that for a fact that that question will never go away in some way or the other. And if I keep resisting, or if I keep asking them that, what, let's talk about something else, let's change the topic, after a point of time, they will start tagging me as unsocial, and the same thing cascades to our professional life, our personal life, with different sets of people as well. So what I normally do in such a situation is, I know I can't ignore those people, so I smile and I wave. That's all I do. I wait for them to finish their tirade, or I wait for them to finish their, deep founded concern for me. And I just smile throughout the whole conversation, saying, "Oh, I'm so touched with your genuine concern." And then we move on to another topic. So I just let them do their stuff, whatever they want to discuss, because that's on their agenda. They will talk about that in some way or the other. And then once that happens, we move out of that zone. So I hope that that answers the question that you were trying to ask, Pavli.
Thank you, Smita. So wave, laugh, and go on. That is what Smita said. So on a similar note, this question is to you, Toastmaster Raviteja. So Smita told, yes, we cannot, means if we try to change even the pessimistic thought process of an opposite person, it may not happen overnight. It's a very long journey. So do you think, should we avoid, or critical viewpoint of these pessimistic people sometimes is even important for our continuous improvement? So does dealing with such people help us sometimes in focusing on outcomes? What do you want to say on this?
Right. I think my personal opinion on this is, first of all, you should not try changing people. That's out of the box. I think that's out of question. There is no way you can try changing people, or if you are putting your efforts to change people, I think it is just a waste of time and energy, right? What you can do when you have, say, the negative people around you would depend upon many situations. And here I want to be very careful when I say this, and I would want all of you, our people, especially me and Smita, are Harry Potter fans, so we would understand the statement. But all of you who watch Harry Potter series, you would know. So this guy Harry Potter goes to Sirius Black, his godfather, and because he is feeling a lot of anger, a lot of negative thoughts in him, so he asks Sirius Black, his godfather, saying that, I think I'm becoming negative. I'm becoming like the villain of the movie, right? What if I become bad? What if I am actually going down the road of becoming, the most toxic person in that group? And Sirius Black says that, the world is not divided between, and for good, for all of your understanding sake, I'm just using some words that are not actually there in the statement. So what Sirius Black says is, the world is not actually divided into good and bad people. The world is, everybody has good inside them and everybody has bad inside them. It is your choice. It is an individual choice to act upon that particular side. Say, if you want to act, or if you want to rely on your good side, things will happen good. If you want to rely on your negative side, things will happen negatively. So the point is, people
are not, you cannot generalize people saying that they are toxic or they're negative. That's again another myth that I do not agree with. People are different in different situations, and I have known, being in the public domain and leading Toastmasters for over a period of time, and of course other NGOs as well, I know that some of them are very good when they come to certain tasks. Some of them are not very good when they come to certain tasks. So for you as a person, you need to understand what your role is when you're around such kind of situations or such kind of people. If your role is you are the captain of the team, or you are the lead of the team, or you're the manager of the team, you make a choice. You should make a choice. You cannot escape. Like what Venkata sir and Smita said. I mean, it's not marriage when you're a lead. You got to take a decision. You got to make a choice, and it is in that role that you make a choice not to go with the negative mindset or with the toxic mindset, and you might want to go with a positive mindset, or it is your decision to go either with the negative mindset or toxic mindset. It is a choice. But when you are just a team person, when you are a part of that group, you are equal to that toxic person who's there in the group. Then you have a choice whether to, as Venkata sir said, whether to stay in the team or move out of the team, and that's a choice that you have. And I do not ever believe in changing people. So these are the two choices depending upon the role that I am in, and I would never ever generalize people saying that they are toxic and then I would move on. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ravi. So some people tend to see the glass as half empty rather than half full. So when we are handling a situation or a project or an event or anything, so should we see the full glass half full or half empty? So what do you say on this, Toastmaster Pratima? And what is your approach?
Thank you, Pavani. I would like to tie what the other speakers said also. So Venkata said, look at a common goal, right? And Smita said, people are inherently set in their mindsets. It takes time to shift, and you can't shift them, which is what Ravi also said. Changing people is just not, it's not your thing. Let them do what they want. Now, connecting it to, do I see pessimism or do I see optimism in a circumstance? Over a period of time, I know that I've been able to classify people into different kinds of criticism they give you. Okay. The first kind is those who give you criticism on things that are more tangible, like a task. They'll say, okay, you make too many errors in your Excel sheet, right? A fixable one, right? They will say, oh, the way you communicate it's very confusing. You may want to rethink how you say what you say. Very fixable, right? So this is one kind of critical, very doable. It doesn't hurt you. But there are the other kind who will directly attack onto who you are. So they will map your inability to do a great Excel sheet to how you are as a person. Whereas ideally it is not. One is a skill, the other is a trait, right? So when they do this, now the second one, which is attacking your personality, that is very deep. When people criticize you. So I had a sister-in-law who, when I was married and away in other parts of the country, every time I would reach home, the first question or the first statement, even before she would say hello to me, would be, you've put on weight. Now think about it. Yeah? It is an age-old relationship. When this person, every time you meet, she says, only talks about your weight, somewhere inside it is sitting very strongly saying that you are never in a good shape. Now this is toxic. And there are people out there, right? So that is deep impact, right? So in my mind, I've been able to separate the two. Now, do I need both? Yes, I need both. The first kinds, I do need them because they are the people who are telling me you got to get better. The second kinds are there. You have zero control on what they say. Just like Smita, smile and wave, boys, smile and wave. So, we start putting these filters. You have to put these filters. If those filters are not there, you'll probably just, wreck yourself overthinking if you're somebody like me.
So do I need them both? I do need them both. What is the trick to looking at the full glass? Is to actually see a pattern and say, what do I want to receive and what do I want to filter out? And I found this beautiful quote, and I think this kind of talks about what everybody is saying. It says, God doesn't give you the people you want. He gives you people you need to help you, to hurt you, to leave you, to love you, and to make you the person you were meant to be. So they are there, out there. All we need to do is learn to live and survive with them. And hopefully that should do a lot. Thank you.
Yes, very good messages. Amazing. And I think participants are about to understand what we are able to talk. So start posting your questions in the chat box. We will take up a few questions from this and any of the panelists can answer these. So I received one question. How do we train our brain to think positive? It's open, anyone can take up this question.
May I?
Yes, Pratima.
Okay, and my point of view, and you can kind of map it to your own lives. My point of view comes from being a parent of a teenager. And you've all been teenagers at one time, but you are not this generation's teenager. This generation's teenager, in a parent's mind, or at least in Pratima Madhuriti's mind, are monsters. Okay? And I am not ashamed of saying that at all. If you know a teenager, you'll see a monster. Sometimes they are one-eyed also. And it's difficult, right? It's very difficult to deal with a teenager because, to Smita's point, I am set in my mindset, right? A certain kinds of clothes, what is okay, value system, falana, dimka, the list is very long. And the current generation is zero or all of that. You know, they don't understand that. I'm not generalizing, but most kids don't understand the value of hardship. Very, very entitled generation. And it is nobody's fault. It is not a parent's fault. It's not the generation's fault. So how do you create this mindset of looking at this person very positively, right? For the longest time, I struggled to see because there was always this conflict of me versus her, right? I want it like this, she wants it like that. But then there's somebody who told me literally that every human being, you know, is innately designed to be happy and prosperous, right? There's no other goal. If one of you can raise your hand and say, I don't want to be happy, I don't want to be prosperous, I will quit the call right now. Anybody? Anybody? No. I'm just joking. So how do you look at it? So every time I would conflict with my daughter, it was like a walk in fire to tell myself, Pratima, pause. Right? Anything that you're going to say now, if it's going to create conflict for irrelevant things, like not putting clothes in the laundry, is zero value and doesn't require a conflict. But if it's going to create that, look at it positively. Let go, let that person be, and let her do whatever she wants to do, whenever she wants to do, because laundry is not an emergency. Whereas safety is an emergency. So for me, the positive outlook came because I learned to pick my battles. So what battle do I pick? I make sure that if she's going out, her live location is on. That is the battle I will pick. But I smaller battles and so saw the positivity in letting her be and improve the quality of that relationship. So in our own lives, what battles are you picking and what purview or perception you have of this person if they are not doing something? So that's my take. Let people be and pick your battles so that they are also prioritizing what is important and what is not. Creates an overall positive circle in how you understand each other rather than bickering at the smaller things and creating a very negative communication process through and through. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Pratima.
Bhavani, can I add to what Pratima said?
Yes, sir.
Pratima was mentioning managing teenagers is very difficult. If Smita permits me, I will take her name. You ask Smita's parents. My daughter says I am toxic. Let us not use the word managing people. We cannot manage, let people be what they want. That is why try to understand what others are trying to say, think they are also right. Then you will get the so-called positivity. Otherwise, this toxicity will be there throughout our life. This is what I want to add. Sorry, Pratima. Sorry, Smita, for taking your names. This is my experience. Thank you.
Sir, circling back to what you spoke, circumstances define, yes. So when you were talking, you spoke that how a leader of a team should take important decisions. Sorry, what you were telling is that we have to take a middle path. So this involves changing the thought process. But if someone is completely wrong, then it's difficult to manage with a middle path. So how do you handle this kind of situation?
See, who will decide one is right or wrong? When you are chosen into a team, right? When we have a common objective, everyone has their own way of thinking to achieve it. When once you feel somebody is wrong, why do you take them to team? There must be something, some point in the team member's point of view also, something is right. Try to find out that.
Absolutely.
I don't think everybody is wrong in every aspect. There may be something right. Try to find out that, then you will find some solution to that. I'm not saying he might be totally right or totally wrong. Here I would like to take an example we Toastmasters follow, evaluation. We call it as evaluate to motivate. We know pretty well the speech is worse, but still we try to find some positive points. First we say the positive points, then we'll go a little, one or two areas of improvement. All of us agree that speech is the worst speech ever we have heard. Still, we find the positives. The same thing try to apply in our life also. This is what my take on your question.
So thank you all. So toxicity or pessimism is all there around, and circumstances define how we have to behave and how we behave. So we cannot avoid those people. Just smile and be mingled with them and be happy. That is what we have understood from the discussion. So let's move on to the different, slightly different topic.
Yeah, Pavani, don't smile and wave if you're a person to take a decision. That
Yeah,
is
I think that has been taken a little too literally. I'll just add one thing here. Okay. Yeah, that's from Madagascar. That's one of my favorite pictures. Actually, a lot of source of wisdom in my life comes from that movie. So that is why I kind of quote it very, very frequently. So, there are multiple facets to kind of dealing with people, and I'll just cue in this discussion with even one of the questions which has come up from I think Vijay Kumar about controlling emotions and maintaining that balance. So we have to accept the fact that we don't have control over a lot of things. We don't have control over a particular situation, what it has come from till this point, and how it will progress to the next level. It's just an illusion of control that we have, but actually we don't have any control on that. The second thing is we don't have any control over the kind of people that we come in contact with, if that is not a conscious decision that we are making. For example, if I have to choose a team of people, the decision is with me. But then if I am added to a group which has already been picked by somebody else, for example, the teams that we work in our professional life, right? We are already part of a team. We don't really have a say of who we are working with or who we aren't. Same thing happens when it's a Toastmasters event. If I am the chair or the co-chair of a team and I have the choice to pick the people, that's one side of it. But if I'm a team member and somebody has chosen me, I know who the chair or who the co-chair is. I can align with that person, but I have no control over who the other people are in my team. So accepting that you have no control is probably the first step to inner peace. And this is from my personal experience. The moment you start thinking that, oh my God, such and such person is here, oh my God, such and such situation is coming, oh my, we must do something to update this, or we must do something to change this. Accept that you have no control, and it is okay to not have control over certain things. There are some decisions. This is the first thing. Second thing is, there are some decisions which impact not just you individually, but the people around you as well. So when I come across negative people, toxic people, pessimistic people, I kind of take a step back from just, if this is a personal impact just on me versus is this an impact in the same line across a bigger group of people as well. If it is only a personal thing, like, I feel affronted, or I feel all, riled up because of that person's personality, that's a personal thing. Okay, fine. I will have to work around how to continue interacting with that person. And of course, that is not a point of feedback which I may give it. I mean, considering the relationship we have, I might say that, your behavior is not very good, or it is hurting me, or it is challenging, or blah, blah, blah. That is a call that you have to take. Like, when does that conversation happen with that person? But when that person is impacting a bigger circle of people, I always feel that is a point of intervention that has to happen. Whether the person changes or not, whether the person adapts to the behavior, whatever the person does, again, not in your control, but what you can make them aware of is, boss, your pessimistic behavior is impacting the morale of everyone around us. And it is not letting us be productive in whether it's a Toastmasters event, or it's a professional role, or even at home for that matter. So when the person starts impacting a bigger set of people, you know that it's not a one-on-one thing. It's not a preference that we are not aligning. That is why this difference is happening. There is inherently something wrong in that behavior, which can lead to cascading effects later on. So I think it's important to judge whether it is a one-on-one thing versus a wider impact. And if you're able to create that distinction in your mind, that probably can lead you to also engage fruitfully with the person who you think is pessimistic or toxic or something like that. And eventually, once that discussion happens, at least the person is aware. So every time he opens up his mouth, he'll be like, okay, this thing is going to hurt people. Do I really want to talk like that? Do I really want to? At least the thought will come in the person's mind that, okay, I've received feedback around this. I may want to just check myself. And, over a period of time, it hopefully would lead to a better place to be around. So, and if all else fails, then yes, smile and last thing that you should do.
As mentioned, inner peace. I think everybody is becoming philosophical. Shall I suggest everybody to read Bhagavad Gita daily? Ravi can take it up. I think he has started some book reading, I think.
I just want to quickly come in, Jatin. My take on your question is, I mean, I agree, this is becoming philosophical, but to come to the point is, when two people work together, there is a process.
Ravi, sorry to interrupt. We have one more round to take up with the panelists. Okay. If time permits, we'll go back and check these questions from participants. Sorry for that, Jatin. So we will take one more round. So the ecosystem and our life experiences exclusively define our thinking. So Toastmaster Venkata sir, can the core thought process of a person which is formed because of their life experiences, can it be changed?
Sir, you're on mute.
Sorry. To an extent, definitely I agree with what you said. Our thought process will depend upon our experiences, what we face in life. But we need to think carefully after some time whether this experience, why this experience happened, what is that experience, what is my role into that experience, into that incident happened, what are the other people's involvement and their contribution to such experiences. When we are introspecting on these things, definitely I think a right thought process may frame into our minds instead of in that particular phase if we take a quick decision and continue into the thought process. We need your experiences, you need to study carefully, and then if you believe that was a bad experience, you can ignore it. If it is a good experience, one's thought process can continue on those lines. I think that may be a good thing. Yes, definitely our experiences will frame our thought process. That I agree with that. Thank you, Pawan.
Oh, thank you, sir. Toastmaster Ravi, do you want to share your opinion on the same? Can the core thought process of a person which is formed because of their life experiences can be changed?
Oh, I think if you are looking at taking somebody on the face value, right? If you want to take him right at that particular point or make a decision based upon what experiences do they have, then of course, see, it is like this. I'll put it this way. So when I'm sure all of you know that people who come from elite universities or elite colleges, right? They are always given an extra preference. They are given more money, and people bet on them a little bit more, right? The companies, etc. Now, why do they do that? It is because statistics show that they can make a difference. They can add that much of value comparatively to any other institutes that go around. Now, in that, is there a percentage of people who do not add that value? Yes, but the percentage is a little lesser. And hence, when you take people on face value, or when you have to make a decision at that particular point of time, of course, you look at what are the experiences that person had, what is the atmosphere that uh, he has been brought up, what are the situations that defined him, do make a lot of difference. But that being said, it is not a long-term thought process, or it is not a long-term solution per se, where we are saying that the ecosystem or the life experiences cannot be changed, or the thinking cannot be changed at all. Because if you change the ecosystem and if you change the life experience, yeah, the thinking can also change. So defining thinking at that particular point and defining thinking forever has a difference. So you cannot define thinking forever, thinking of that person forever. But if you want to take a decision at that particular point of time, judging based upon their ecosystem and their life experiences is not a bad way to create your assumptions at the first place.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ravi. So this question is to Toastmaster Pratima. Pratima, if our experiences shape us, do you think one can reshape ourselves?
Thank you, Pavani. So I grew up in a very regimental household. My dad had temporarily served the army, and like I always say this as a joke, he left the army, but the army never left him types, right? I grew up, reaching a railway station 1 hour before the train departure time. We never questioned my father in those days, but that became, it got into our DNA. So arriving early for something is just how you do. There's no other way. You can never be late, otherwise the sky will fall. That was my ecosystem. Unfortunately for me, my role of a trainer facilitator. And when I started on this role, obviously everybody's ecosystem is different. So each time a participant would walk in either on time, which means he is already late, or after time, would cause me minor heart attacks. Young and aggressive as I was, I would make it a point to tell them that, listen, this is not going to work. but wisdom always comes only with maturity and age, I guess. To the point of reshaping yourself, yes, it is possible to reshape. Why? Because when you talk about communication, when you talk about set mindsets and how you want to approach, what is the common goal? If you tie all of these together, what's the common goal in my role as a facilitator is that my learner enters a very safe environment. But because of my personal ecosystem and how I perceive being on time or being late, if I let that influence the way I handle my learner, I'm not creating that ecosystem. So my common goal is already violated, so to say. So it required me to reshape myself in saying every time I would enter a classroom, and I'm of course early, I'll tell myself I would do this very strong self-talk to say that no matter what, you are not going to bring up somebody being late as an issue, right? And it took me quite some time to, and it's all of these things are never at the snap of a finger. They don't happen, overnight. These are all transformations. They are not changes. So reshaping is long term. So I found mechanisms to tell people as a part of another conversation why it is important to be on time. I learned to draw analogies and examples of what is decorum and what is respect. So that is how I reshaped. And today, if a learner walks in or logs into a class, I've moved to a stage. The first question I ask is everything okay? Are you all right? So that's the shift from who I was to who I am, that I have not changed. I still log in early. I am still ahead of time, but I'm accommodative of how people and their ecosystems allow them to operate. Because I operate, they also operate. So yes, the answer is yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratima. So it may take some time to get transformed, but yes, it is possible to reshape ourselves. So Toastmaster Smita, do you have any personal experience to share where you found it difficult to change your thought process, but eventually you have succeeded by doing so? It could be with respect to any particular instance. So by changing your thought process, you have succeeded.
I think this happens quite a bit, like Pratima said. As you continue being in a particular system or an environment over time, you start getting these nuggets of wisdom through your experience or through interacting with other people, like your Venkata sir or Ravi or Pratima. I'm the youngest among all of them, and I've literally worked under them as as part of their team members. So it is very it feels very unbecoming to be all like a wise person in front of them. But these are the things I have learned from them. In my journey all through these last 5-6 years, it's all been because of the interaction with these people that I think one of the most key things was accommodating other people that Pratima mentioned. So Pratima, okay, the word a lot of people use is notorious, but I don't want to use that. I respect her immensely because of that thing. So in Toastmasters, people were like, okay, if it's Pratima in the team, you have to be 5 minutes early. Otherwise, it is going to blow up. And that was, of course, a very good thing. Being on time is I don't know why people frown upon that, but that whole perception that came with that was on bit of a negative side. But that also creates perceptions. And I think one very important thing, and I've always felt, or when I started feeling, was I would quickly align with the perception, whatever the person is, whoever it is. You listen to people and you're like, okay, so this must be what XYZ is like. This is what Pratima is like, or Venkata sir is like, or Ravi is like. But then you never really allow yourself the time, or because that needs time, right? To get to know somebody, to understand where they're coming from. This is the first time I've heard Pratima's backstory. And now everything makes so much sense to me. I'm like, yeah, of course, that is why. So we don't put in the time to really get to know the background stories. We don't really put in the effort to build those relationships, and we just kind of jump the gun to perceptions very quickly because that's the easiest thing to do. In my journey over the last few years, I think this is one very conscious shift that I have tried to do, that people are not what others say they are. You should always, at least I always start with that feeling, if I'm meeting somebody for the first time and I've heard from XYZ other person that, okay, this person is like this or that, I always say thank you, smile, and then say thank you. And then I consciously tell myself, okay, forget about what you heard. You have to create your perception of these people after you've interacted with this person. So once that conscious shift started coming in, and it's taken a lot of time for that, obviously, it does not happen overnight. Like Pratima mentioned, it never happens overnight. But what I feel is my relationships are much stronger now. They're more deep versus what was happening earlier. But you need to acknowledge, at least I needed to acknowledge that to myself, that, yeah, this is a problem that I was having and how to rectify that. So change is possible only if one acknowledges that there is a need to change. If I would have felt that, no, I'm perfectly fine the way it is, I would probably have never worked consciously to bring in that change. So that's what my experiences have kind of commanded me to do.
So thank you, Toastmasters Krita. So do perceptions about others play a role in determining our self-development? So it's very important to look into the situation and perceptions. So thank you so much, all the panelists. So Toastmaster Ravi, sorry that I've interrupted earlier. So we will take up Jatin's question.
Yeah, no, I'll make it quickly. So Jatin, I think what he asked is, does it all comes down to compatibility? That is, two parties either have the same process or approach whenever there is a disagreement. So my point of view is, when you're working as a team, you work on a set of principles. There is some operating procedure for making every decision, right? Say, for example, as a club, if you're working together and you are part of the EC or you're part of the group that is working, there are some operating principles. And for all of you who are wondering where those operating principles are, they're there in the club constitution and also are part of the club success plan, right? That is something that every one of us have to do right at the beginning of the year to understand what are the operating principles. Now, every organization has it, every team has it, every process, every structured event has it. So if at all there are, whether you do not agree, you are not compatible, that does not matter. You have to follow on the process that is laid by your team or organization or your group of people. That's one. So that is what is called the middle path. The middle path is sticking to the process or sticking to whatever is the operating principles. Now, in terms of personality, say for example, me and Pratima decide to do something voluntarily to an organization or give something. Now me and Pratima would have a personal agreement. Okay, this is what is our commitment. Ravi, you should not be late for your meetings. That is what Pratima would say. I would say, yeah, Pratima, I would. And then I would have something. Then I will say, Pratima, this is what I expect you to do. This is the number of hours that I want you to commit for. And that's an agreement that me and Pratima had. And so whenever there is a problem, you fall into this zone of, okay, this is what I agreed, so I better be on time. So this is what I agreed, I better be committed to the number of hours that I have promised Ravi. And this is how you have to deal with doing anything constructive. And there, in such kind of situations, there is no wave and smile. And I almost agree for the fact that in majority of the cases you can always wave and smile. Here you cannot, because otherwise the purpose is not achieved. So that's my answer. That's my take.
Thank you,
May I quickly add on to it?
Yes, and you have 1 minute.
I remember Ravi telling that, if it doesn't work, it's okay to, choose to move out of that agreement also, as long as the time to react and respond. You did mention that, Ravi. And the moment I looked at Jatin's question, this came to my mind that compatibility is not always the only solution. There are people who are parting ways from a relationship as strong as a marriage because of non-compatibility. Now, as long as, like Venkata said, you don't bucket them under right and wrong. There is nothing wrong with two people separating. Friends separate, so why not a marriage? And in fact, in many countries, I do know that they have divorce parties, right? Which is they are okay, and they're really happy that they are going their ways and not sticking together for an agreement can't keep. If you go by what Venkata said, nothing right or wrong, and it is all right to not be compatible and say thank you, shake hands, and part ways, and be productive in each other's rather than being negative and bitter and miserable throughout in that relationship. Why not? Why not? So that's my take on not being compatible and also being okay with it.
So thank you so much, all the panelists. So what we have learned is that when we have pessimistic people, as there are no pessimistic people, only circumstances define, and it's always better to take it the middle path. And if your ecosystem is defining your thoughts, it's always possible that you can reshape your thoughts. But it's all inherent in you that if you want to change, it's possible. Now it's over to Toastmasters Chisti, Area Director, G3.
Chisti, you're on mute.
Transformation number 1. Okay. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Pavani. Let me first thank Toastmaster Venkatasar, Toastmaster Pratima, Toastmaster Smita, and Toastmaster Ravi for your valuable time. Before we move out, I'm really very sorry for extending this meeting beyond 8 o'clock, our stipulated time for closure, but I thought it would be wonderful to summate what we have heard today and learned today before we sign off. So we have seen that the world is not always black and white. We live in the world which has gray or shades of gray. So there's nothing either good or bad in this world. It's what about we perceive from our judicious minds. So I do agree, and we all do agree with Venkateswara when he said that one needs to decide for himself on thinking or being positive. And exactly what he had said, let us try to put it into action, that we should always evaluate rather than judge. That is one statement that I'm taking from here today, is that we often jump up and judge people. We seldom evaluate situations. So that is one of the learnings that we're taking here today. And as Toastmaster Ravi rightly mentioned, there is no need to change people. People have their uniqueness in them. There are good people, there are bad as well. So it all depends on how we categorize them. So at the end of the day, we end up judging people when we say good or bad. So let us not get into judging people or deciding them. So it's about ourselves, how we can think, how we can improvise ourselves on thinking. Let's do that. And wonderfully said, Pratima, when you said we should always be able to separate thoughts and people. People tell so many things, but the day we are able to separate them from their thoughts, that is where we know that yes, we have won the battle. And the most important aspect of what I have seen today is learn to live and survive with people. We often find ourselves in situations where we find it very difficult to live, but eventually this is the life we have chosen. Let us learn to live and survive the people around us. And when you said transformation is possible, yes, it is very much possible, unless and until we are that elephant still tied to that small rope. Until and unless we think about breaking those shackles and reforming ourselves, we will always be living in that small cocoon and would never be able to see a beautiful butterfly coming out of it. So, folks, it's moment to introspect ourselves, understand that yes, we have been in worst of situations in our lives. We have seen life in its worst phases, but still we have come out strong all the times. It's the resilience that we have. Can we do that to change our mindsets? Probably yes. And eventually make peace with ourselves, as Toastmaster Smita rightly mentioned. I made peace with myself. I knew my forehead is a barren land. Nothing can grow there. I made peace. I'm happy. So, folks, we can change, we can transform ourselves and transform for betterment of ourselves, and eventually, at the larger extent, betterment of the fraternity. On that note, I would request everyone to please open up the cameras for a group picture, and I would request Toastmaster Shanti if you can have a quick group picture with everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your valuable time. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, Pavani and Pavani's team for bringing this out. Thank you, Shivalila, for her team for the PR work that she has done, and thank you, Ashish, very, very much for the wonderful operations team. And above all, I would render my sincere thanks to Jayashree for taking this challenge. She has been a very new Toastmaster, and she took the whole responsibility to run the whole show from behind. A round lot of applause to Toastmaster Jayashree, Toastmaster Pavani, Ashish, and Toastmaster Shivela.
Thank you, all the panelists, and some panelists have chosen to be here, means they wanted to go to the other meeting at the same time, but you have chosen our meeting. So thank you so much for coming and encouraging all our USP orators. Thank you so much. So it's photo time.